So where does the Quest 3S fit on the blur scale? How does it compare to the Quest 3? How does it compare to the Quest 2? Does the blur kick it out of the running of actually getting this device? And is there anything you can actually do to make the blur better? Can you make this clearer? Let's focus in. The big question everybody's asking is, what are the main differences between the Quest 3S compared to the other devices? And of those differences, does it make it clear or blurry? And to start off, we're gonna talk about one of the big ones, and that is the display. The easiest way to think about this is they took the lenses and the display of the Quest 2 and merged it with the software, graphics, and processor of the Quest 3. So the display in the Quest 3S is exactly the same as the display in the Quest 2. And I'll put those on the screen right here, the Quest 2 and 3S and the Quest 3, so you can kind of see the differences. One of the bigger differences is how it results in the pixels per inch. Where the Quest 2 and 3S have 773 pixels per inch, and the Quest 3 has 1218 pixels per inch. Now, because you are so close to the display, your eyes actually can tell this difference. There are some debates and arguments of what the eye can actually perceive, how many pixels per inch. Usually the average number that's thrown out here is about 300 pixels per inch, but that really does depend on your individual visual acuity, the angle of something that you're looking at, the distance that you're looking at. And so when you're having something that's really close, that you're looking through a magnifying lens, you can really tell or notice the difference between these two resolutions. So the big one here is the limitation of the device being the same display from the Quest 2. You will have a little bit more blur compared to the Quest 3. It'll be exactly the same as the Quest 2 though. And the other thing that's exactly the same in the Quest 3S as the Quest 2 are the Fresnel lenses. And this is the part that's, this stinks. I was disappointed in hearing this. Now, if you can see this, this is a Fresnel prism or a Fresnel lens, and you can actually see concentric magnifying lenses that are put into this sheet here that helps it magnify. And these are the type of lenses that they use in the Quest 2 and the Quest 3S. Now, what is bad about this is because of the concentric rings, you get light reflections and glare, and it's often referred to in the VR world as God rays. The God rays in the Quest 2 were super annoying, super distracting, and they're going to be like that in the Quest 3S. The other limitation is that it causes the sweet spot. So the spot on the lens where the vision is the clearest is really small, and it's definitely smaller than the Quest 3, I mean by a mile. And that's probably the worst part about the Fresnel lenses, is just the sweet spot right in the middle. You have to be lined up just perfectly to finally have good vision, good clarity in the device. Another difference in the lenses that I don't see many people talking about is that in the Quest 3, they actually have a built-in anti-reflective coating on there. So not only does it not have the concentric rings to eliminate God rays, but they actually have a coating on there to eliminate even more reflections that could happen. And I just don't see that coating on the Quest 3S or the Quest 2. It's the exact same lenses. And so that's the other part that bugs me, is the coating's not on there. Probably because I had to use the Fresnel lenses with these rings. So that part stinks. And then a quick review of the lenses they use in the Quest 3. They use pancake lenses that makes the lenses 40% thinner. The sweet spot, the field of vision, is actually bigger in the Quest 3 because they're able to use these lenses. Much thinner, makes the device much thinner. It's just more pleasant to look through these lenses. And the other part that stinks is that we're back to the 3 different PD settings or IPD settings. That's the distance between your pupil, or the pupillary distance. Very critical in the Quest 3S and the Quest 2 if you want to line up with that sweet spot. But now they're back to the 3 different settings, whereas in the Quest 3 had the granular adjustment. So you could adjust down to the millimeter or PD millimeter difference, and it was just way better because you could line it up just right. Even though the sweet spot was way bigger, you could still line it up perfectly. So that's the other part that stinks. Now the awesome things that are the same, like I said, it has the same processor, the same graphics, the same smooth gameplay. It makes the gameplay clearer and better. I have noticed that it definitely is closer to the Quest 3. So even with the limitations with the lenses and the display, because the graphics and the gameplay is better, I do kind of compare it more to the Quest 3. And so that kind of makes up for a lot of the lenses and the display issue. So now for the portion of the video, what can you actually do about the blur? Can you increase the clarity? And this portion of the video is going to be really similar to my video I did about the Quest 2 because, like I said, the similarity of the display and the lenses. So first up is making sure that you were lined up perfectly with the sweet spot. And the biggest thing you can do there is just making sure that you have your IPD settings correctly. If you don't know what your PD is, you can get your PD measured at your local eye doctor when you go in for your eye exam. A lot of times they'll measure it down to the millimeter and individual PDs. You can also check out a free app called GlassesOn. It's free, they'll measure your PD for free. It's really easy to use. It's actually pretty accurate, surprisingly accurate. I've used it on myself and many other people, and it's pretty accurate. So you can download that and check that out. That's probably the easiest way to get your PD settings. Now the question is, should I use my distance or my near PD? There are two different things. In VR, usually VR, the optics and the focal point is set more in the distance, usually about 4 feet. 3.5 feet, 3.2 feet, somewhere around there. And so first off, you'll definitely want to use your distance PD for the measurement, and you want to round down. So if your PD is 64.5, you want to round down to 64, the closest one to that one. And don't forget that lining up the sweet spot is not just the PD settings. You want it horizontally lined up, you want it vertically lined up, so that means up and down. Easiest way to do that is using the top head strap. These chronically kind of lower down over your eyes onto your cheeks, and you get out of that sweet spot zone. So if you can tighten up the top strap to kind of lift up the weight and keep it up there, that's probably the best way you can do that. The other thing is getting closer to that sweet spot. The closer you can get to the sweet spot, the bigger the sweet spot gets. It's kind of like looking through a keyhole. Keyhole's really tiny looking far away. The closer you get in there, the more field of vision and more clear vision you have in that sweet spot. The other two things I want to mention is make sure that your lenses are clean. Clean them with a microfiber cloth. Even the tiniest little smudge, if it's in the wrong spot, definitely blurs up the image like crazy in here. And if you feel like there's only a section of the gameplay that's blurry, it's probably because you have a smudge or a scratch on there. So try and clean the lenses really well with a microfiber cloth. And fogging can be an issue for some people. If you can get yourself a head strap that actually has a fan, a built-in fan, that's what I've seen is probably the best way to actually keep that fog from going over the lenses. And I'll put links in the description if you want to check those out. Now to the portion of the video that might cause blurry VR gameplay, but it's not necessarily from the device. It's actually from your own eyes. Number one is dry eyes. And if you've seen any of my other videos, you probably knew I was going to bring this up. Dry eyes can actually be a big issue when playing VR or looking at screens in general. We blink 60% less, the surface of our eyes dry out, and that actually can cause quite a bit blur. The front of your eyes can actually haze over, can get foggy, can definitely get blurry, and can become a big issue. So to avoid dry eyes, make sure that you're taking a break. Try and take a break every 20-30 minutes, taking off the device, looking far away, blinking, getting fresh tears on there. You can also use artificial tears. Recoat your eyes with tears every once in a while just to supplement those tears that you're losing from not blinking. The other thing that you might not think of, like I said, if the top head strap isn't pulled up tight, the device actually can rest on your cheekbones and actually pull your cheeks down and actually pull your eyelids down a little bit, which can really dry out your eyes really fast. So one of the top keys that I find myself doing that helps the most is making sure the top head strap is pulled up tight so you have the weight off of your cheeks. And really the best way I found that helps the most is just to get a new different head strap. The head strap that it comes with is okay, but it just is really hard to straighten up and keep the weight off of your cheeks. Way easier, way more comfortable with the new head strap. This is probably the number one accessory or change that I would invest in, is a different head strap for the dry eyes, in my opinion. The last thing causing blur is you might need to be wearing your glasses. I know this might be obvious, but a lot of times when we're playing VR, we think, hey, the device is right in front of me. In real life, I can see great right in front of me. I don't need glasses to read, but you might be someone that needs glasses to see far away. Let's say 4 feet or further out. Well, in VR, the focal point is actually 4 feet out. So if you wear glasses in real life to see 4 feet out or farther, then definitely wearing glasses or wearing your prescription in VR is gonna make it much clearer. Now when wearing glasses, make sure that you include the spacer so you have a little bit of space when wearing glasses so you don't scratch the lenses. Or you can wear your contact lenses, even better. You're not gonna scratch your lenses and you don't have to worry about fitting your glasses inside the device. But just be careful with contact lenses as they can dry out even faster. So be careful with that. My favorite way to use the device is actually to use VR lens inserts. And here's the good news, probably the best news about the 3S, is that the VR lens inserts that you got for the Quest 2, if you got any, actually fit right on the Quest 3S. In fact, they're exactly the same. Because they're the same lenses, they actually fit right on there. So if you already have lenses for the Quest 2 and you got the 3S, boom, you don't need to invest in new lenses. So with the Blur, would I say that this device is worthy to get? I'll say this, if you don't have any VR devices, this is probably the best bang for your buck. It's the best, cheapest option to get into VR. And I'll say this, when you're playing games, you really can get lost in the world where you're not noticing the God rays as much. You don't notice that certain things aren't as clear as maybe the Quest 3. You're in the gameplay, so really, sometimes the God rays doesn't take you out of that immersion in the game. And so really, I wouldn't be that worried about the lenses or the display. You can still have a ton of fun. So if you don't have a VR device, this is the perfect option to get into. Now, if you have a Quest 3 already, is the Quest 3S worthy of getting? No, you already have the better device, better, clearer device. Just stick with that. Now, if you have the Quest 2, and you're wondering, hey, I want to upgrade my VR device, what should I get? The Quest 3S or the Quest 3? My opinion, save some money, get the Quest 3. Now the 3S, good option because you can play all the Quest 3 games on it. It's going to be great. The gameplay is going to look smoother. It is going to look clearer, even though the display and the lenses are the same. It's still going to look clear. So this is a good option too, but if you can, save a little bit of money, I'd get the Quest 3. Now for the VR lens inserts, the good news is there are companies that have upgraded and updated their design from the Quest 2 that will work for the Quest 3S. And I'm collecting those lenses right now to test those out. And I'm gonna do a video about that, just highlighting which lenses are great that I recommend getting. And when that video's out, I'll put it right here. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll answer them down there. But I hope this video helped, and I'll see you in the metaverse. Stay focused.